We'll do it live. It.
What was your first death metal band experience? I'm so interested in people's journeys to this style of music we like so much today. So that's why I ask.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like what I
Or that
heard
you can remember. It
first.
doesn't have to be the first, but that made an impression of like, okay, this is death metal and I like this.
Yeah, well, the first two that come to mind that I heard and I really liked, and it was so new to me, it was Obituary
Mm,
and Death.
okay.
Yeah. So those grew on me really fast. And then from there, I heard about Napalm and I put it on and finally got a copy of From Enslavement. That's actually I got a copy of Scum.
Hmm.
That was my first CD because I was
Hmm.
still using tapes, and then CDs were starting to come out and get popular. So
Oh
I
yeah.
got Scum, and I remember that, and I believe I had the tape of I had the tape for From Enslavement because it was given to me,
Hmm.
and I was listening to From Enslavement more at first because I was really trying to figure out what the hell was going on in all of that noise that I was hearing. I had no idea what they were doing.
Hmm.
Um, the bass was distorted and loud, and the guitars were kind of more on the trebly side, and it was kind of hard to hear what the music was doing, like the melody. The screaming and all that didn't bother me,
Hmm.
and and the drumming style I had to get used to. So I don't know. I put it down for a little bit, and then one day I decided to listen on headphones, and I
Mm.
got fixated on the bass, and I could hear every note that the bass guitar was doing because I just listened to that, and you can hear the movement and hear those notes under all of that noise that's
Hmm.
happening at the same time.
Hmm.
And that got me interested. So then I was like, oh, I picked up my guitar and figured out what they were tuned to. I can't remember what it was, but way higher than what we do. Um, and I used those notes that I heard, and I found them around the fretboard, and then I started playing the bar chords, and I'm like, oh, that's the fucking riff. That's what's behind all that.
Hmm.
And then it became so much clearer at that point, and then I got hooked on it.
Hmm.
And the death metal stuff was cool. We were doing that, listening to that for a while, and then that came along, and we wanted to go further into the extreme side. Like death metal wasn't enough anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting. Interesting.
that's how Worthless came about, and the Good Stuff demo, and the 7-inch that is on there as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I have a very similar story. Believe it or not, I think the first time I heard death metal and a death metal vocal was by this band called Brutal Truth.
Oh, okay.
Extreme conditions demand extreme responses.
Yeah, I love that one.
This to this day is my favorite. Like I consider this grindcore.
Yeah, it's
Like
like really fast too. But the production on it is like really good, and it's heavy, and
mhm.
you can hear everything that's going on. I like that.
I do too. And it's the first time I heard like Kevin Sharp from Brutal Truth. I love the vocals. It's the first time I heard the roar, like, and believe it or not, Ben from Paralysis and Goat Whore
Yeah.
and Soylent Green, he actually, we knew each other and he could tell that I was into heavier stuff, but I wasn't. I was getting to know him and what he was doing lately, and he was in Paralysis, and he knew I liked things like Faith No More, Pantera, but I guess he just did it as a shot in the dark, and he made a cassette of this Brutal Truth, Extreme Conditions, and Man Extreme Responses.
Yeah, he was big on giving people cassettes of
Yeah, he
hey,
made.
yeah.
That's funny. That is so funny. Yeah, and
Everybody
he.
knew his handwriting.
What's that?
Everybody knew his handwriting too, because he'd write it, all on the card for you.
Yeah, I actually remember it. I remember his handwriting. I remember it was a Memorex. You remember the cassettes? It was you could tape. It
Oh
was a
yeah.
Memorex. It had a yellow decal. It was when like bright colors were in. But I lived in Metairie and I drive to the University of New Orleans for art classes and stuff. And oh, that's where I was going at the time. But I would listen to it there and back, and I just found myself keep going to it. Then I figured out the patterns. I figured out where things were super fast and blast beats, and then where things slowed down. I really like the slow parts, but
Yeah.
the fast parts made the slow parts even better. You know,
Right.
and
Right.
that like that's what hooked me. Yeah, so I got turned on to Brutal Truth and death metal, and then Ben and Todd actually were playing a show together. It was Fuss Parade and Paralysis sometime in 1992. I don't remember. And I was like, I
Mhm.
want to see this live. I want to see this Brutal Truth sound, and I want to see guys do it live. So this was my first time. I had a flyer, Paralysis, Flesh Parade. So I went to it by myself. I remember driving my 79 Chevrolet Nova to the show. It was somewhere in New Orleans. I don't know where, probably, somewhere scary. And I remember seeing it. And I remember um Jason and his vocals, and I was just mesmerized. I was like, wow, that is freaking awesome. I had a grindcore like VHS tape. It was called like, I don't know, I metal something, and it was like grindcore or special or whatever. And it had Bolt Thrower on it. It had Napalm Death on it. It was like a documentary, and it did have Earache all over it. It was interviewing the founder of Earache and what he saw in these bands, and it had like Paradise Lost on it though, which was an Earache band. So I don't know, but I'll put it on the screen. I'll find it. I've seen it. And
Yeah.
Napalm Death was on it, and it was around I think Utopia Banished or stuff, stuff for the children era. But so yeah, I think it's safe to say Napalm Death kind of started from one way or the other grindcore, and I think Enslavement to Obliteration is probably to me where it really came together. I know people reference Scum for sure,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
also had Justin Broderick on it from Godflesh.
Yeah, yeah, I love that one too. Like for me, Scum, From Enslavement, and Peel Sessions are the ones that I love. And then, of course, there's some stuff beyond that that I really like a lot too. Um, Utopia Banish has a lot of good songs on it, and Harmony Corruption actually was really big on me because it's a little more death metal
Mm-hmm. Yep.
sound.
Yep.
It's got grind in it, but it definitely incorporates a little bit more of that death metal sound. And then Utopia Banish went towards the grind sound, which was
Yeah.
cool. And a lot of their new stuff, man, they're really good. Like they're
Oh
just
yeah.
keep banging it out. But yeah, if I had to pick three out of their immense catalog, those first three are the ones that influenced me the most.